Okay, well the second game I'd like to show you, featuring our designated 4 pawns attack system, does not feature the move 3d3, you'll be pleased to know. Get on the override button. It features d4, d6, c4, knight b6 and then f4. You'll recall in the last game we were going to take on e5, we were going to play c5 and then we we're going to play g6, introducing our system. And just to reiterate what black's trying to do, he's trying to dismantle the entire white centre with the help of a fair and shadow bishop and flanking blows such as bishop g4, e6, knight d7 to focus on the e5 pawn. And now we come to the game Riedel versus Schneitzer, played in Germany in 1994, which features an interesting alternative to the possibilities suggested in our last game, where black played an early bishop g4. Let's quickly get to the critical position because, as we said last time, white's best system was to put his bishop out on f4 and then to play a quick queen to d2. Just going back, the latest game I can find in this position, a game Panagiatakos versus Sismanis, played in Greece 2006, went on knight f3 and black played e6. He could have played bishop g4 straight away. This game's particularly interesting because I think it features an inaccurate move order from white's point of view. Just a small change in the move order, but how quickly does that e5 pawn come under fire? White attacks, white defends, black attacks. White tries to bail out with the help of tactics, but once again that e-pawn is under fire from no less than 4 black pieces. Very interesting to see how this game continued. White defended the pawn with bishop f4, but as he really defended it, black took it off. White played bishop b5, black played bishop d7, knight takes e5, bishop takes, rook takes, d6, and after black played rook takes e1 check, the two players rather cowardly, in a cowardly fashion, agreed a draw here. In my view, rook takes e1 check is not the best move. I think black should play queen e8 here, and I think after that it's only white who can be in trouble. Point of queen e8, I'll just show you, is that after bishop takes d7, knight takes d7, knight b5, which looks like the most dangerous in view of the idea of knight to c7, black has queen e6, and then after knight c7 he has queen c4 check, king b1, and then rook to d8. So you could say that the move queen e8 or move 20 is my own novelty. I'm going to claim it here and now. I think it's a good move, and well, if not refutes this whole white setup, then certainly calls it into question. So once again, going back to castles, we're supplying reason after reason why white should play queen d2, but there will be many of your opponents who do not observe this precision in the opening phase of the game. And Schneitzer played e6. Alright, castles, e takes d5, c takes d5, we saw it all last time. And now comes the new idea, or different idea, let's say. Black plays rook to e8. You'll recall last time he played bishop to g4. Well, it's a very sensible move. You know, the idea of rook e8 is to encourage white to play knight f3, after which black's going to pin that knight with bishop g4. And then the whole black position has something to bite on. Chew on the e5 pawn until it drops. I think white's best move in this position is certainly rook e1. Then positions simply very interesting and double-edged. Black can consider the move c5, c4 here with same type of play as last time. Bring the knight to c5, bring the bishop to f5, focus on the d3 square, focus on some sort of queenside attack. Well, in the game Riedel versus Schneitzer, knight f3 was played. The instant black sees that, he puts his bishop out on g4. Bishop b5, knight 8 d7, and well, already white's got to think about mixing it because his e5 pawn is so weak. In fact, I don't see how he's going to even defend it in this position that easily. So White tried to drum up some complications with pawn up to e6, but well, okay, one must be courageous in such positions, and Black took the pawn. Okay, so what compensation can White derive from this situation? Well, the only thing I can see which could possibly cause Black any trouble at all in this position is the weakness of the a2 g8 diagonal, and in particular the vulnerable position of the bishop on e6. If White can gain control of that diagonal, he might be able to cause some action on the f7 square. So knight g5 was Riedel's choice. But now an excellent move there. Bishop to d4, blocking the important d file. As long as Black can defend d7 in this position, then I think he's going to be okay. So the blocking move bishop d4 is a good answer to White's attempt to drum up complications. Anyway, rook he1 was played, bishop c4. Rook takes e8 check, point of which is to play rook e1 and gain a tempo. However, this does enable Black to bring his queen closer to his king and to retain control over f7. So queen f8 was played. And now if knight e6 is the best that White has in this position, I really don't believe it. I mean, okay, that knight's got to be taken, and White does end up with two bishops against two knights. But I'm not sure. I mean, I just think that after rook e8 in this position, Black is exchanging pieces very sensibly, and he's well on the road to consolidating his position. Note how difficult it is for White to wrest control of this diagonal. Once again, I stress, in these types of positions with the open Black king, it's the light squares that are going to cause Black any problem at all, because White has a light square bishop and Black hasn't got one. So as long as Black can control those squares, the light squares around his king, he should be okay. And of course, the more pieces that come off, the better as far as Black is concerned. So off came another pair of rooks. Knight came to e2. And a very cool move by Black. Bishop g7. I must admit, when I first saw this game, I thought surely Black doesn't have time for that move. But it turns out that he has. Black's probably threatening to improve his position with ideas such as queen e6 or maybe even a6. So White's got it all to prove after bishop g7. Okay, knight comes to c3, pawn to a6, bishop e2, and now another careful move, king to h8. Queen comes to d3. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see what White should do. Queen f7. In fact, it's Black who takes charge of the important diagonal. g3, of course, Black was attacking the bishop. And now queen to e7. King to d1. And finally, Black gets the chance to introduce his knights into the game. It's interesting that once he does so, White's position goes downhill rapidly. So, knight to c8. When you're playing with two knights against two bishops, it's a good idea to focus the knights on one colour squares. Here, if Black puts both his knights on the same colour squares, the idea is that this overloads one of the bishops. What the knights don't want against the bishops is a full board clash. So here you can see the knights keeping close together, focusing their attention on the centre. And as I said, once Black is able to get those knights going against the White king, then White quickly disintegrates. And there we see it, knight d4, the culmination of the knight manoeuvres. And White is just simply lost in this position. Okay, he just tries a few attacking gestures to finish off. It's one of those positions which you know is lost, but perhaps is not quite resignable. King g7. Queen g8 check. Okay, with the king on h6 there might be some tactics. Knight comes to e4. White looks as though he's getting somewhere, but Black proves himself master of the tactics here by simply b5. White is unable to muster any threats. He tries the tricky knight d6, threatening knight f7, a move Black can easily repel with bishop f6. I mean, once the tactics come to an end, it really is all over, and there's going to be some payback here in a moment. Knight f7 was played, king g7, and in fact white resigned this position, as he's actually losing a piece here. Just going back to the position after bishop f6, what else could he play? Problem is that after bishop d3, black has c4, and it's the same old story for white. You know, black is gradually taking over this position with an extra pawn to boot. So after king g7, and presumably the time control reached, it was another victory for black.